This is my bracket. Thanks, Pitt.
It's okay, Russell. You should be used to it by now. You're a Jets fan, so.
Really? Wow. Very funny. Well, anyway, welcome back to another edition of Simon Says on the Mark, where we will help you get over the mess that is your NCAA tournament bracket.
Also, we will fence with a member of Columbia State Championship fencing team, Matt Michaels.
All right, on your mark, get set, and here we go. While most of us don't know much about fencing, everyone understands what state champion means, and for the Columbia fencing team, winning states is nothing new.
Here to talk about the team's success and to teach us a couple moves, sophomore Matt Michaels.
What's up, Matt?
Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Matt, you know, the CHS fencing team, they've been so successful, but the question is, how have you been able to maintain that success?
I think a lot of it is the coaching that we get is really good, and they really push us to, do our best. And, the off-season training that we do, and the whole motivation and mindset of the team helps us win.
Now, fencing isn't really a sport that, you pick up at 3 and you start fencing. How big was the learning curve for you when you were a freshman and you walked in and boom, the team's already winning a state championship?
Again, the coaches had a lot to do with it. They really work with the freshmen, because a lot of them don't know how to fence. And that's one of the things that makes us so good is that we put an emphasis on teaching freshmen how to fence.
Now, I don't want to be too, abrupt here, but how exactly do you win a fencing match? So what are the rules?
It's a good question.
Yeah. All right, why don't I show you? So if you guys grab some of your stuff here.
All right.
We've got gear.
Stuff going on here?
Pretty cool mask. Got a glove.
Right. So these things that you guys are holding here, they're foils, and so they're bendy, and they have a little button on the end. And so the whole idea is that
I feel really cool right now. Just putting it out there.
The whole idea is that you want to take this and you want to hit the other person in their, chest area region, and the first person to 5 wins the bout.
All right.
So you have to touch him 5 times.
Yeah, and push the little button in. So why don't you guys give it a try?
All right, here we go. Russell versus Mark, the grand championship of the SOMAtv world of fencing. Ready? All right, let's go. Oh, Johnny Depp!
I definitely got you.
I don't know. I got him.
All right.
I'm hit.
There we go. Is that like the end of the round now, or is it what happens now?
So after 5, after each person gets to 5, that's the end of the bout, and then there's 27 bouts in a meet, and the first to 14 wins the meet. So the boys team this year went 17-0, and
wow.
Over 2 years we're 33-0.
I mean, that's an incredible streak, obviously, over 2 years, and you coming in, now as a sophomore, do you feel a little extra pressure, knowing, oh, we're undefeated, so I've got to win this one?
No, it's just we take each one as it comes, and we know that if we fence, the way we always do, that, it'll turn our way. So.
There you go. All right, we got to do one more. Let's go.
All right.
Ready? Pirates of the Caribbean 2. Oh, missed. Oh! All right, well, Mark should sign up for fencing next year. He's obviously a little more talented than me. Congratulations.
Right. Sir, I think, Matt, we will see you on the fencing court, per se, next year.
There you go. All right, Matt, thanks a lot for joining us. The score after 2 rounds, Mark 2, Russell nothing. We'll be right back. You're watching Simon Says on the Mark. I got you, Matt. As the calendar has turned to March, everyone has been eagerly anticipating the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and now that it's started, we haven't been disappointed. Mark, we talked tons about how we filled out the brackets and who's going to win. We both had Pittsburgh in the Final Four. didn't really work out, but that's really the beauty of March Madness, and it's definitely been an exciting week so far.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like, the storylines are, the typical, upsets, shockers, first round, Morehead State over Louisville. I mean, that's just stuff you can't script.
Amazing
that. That's
and it's great. I mean, you look at the pure amount of buzzer beaters, even on the first day. I mean, we had Morehead State beating Louisville. We had Butler beating Old Dominion, and now Butler's making another run at the title. I mean, you just can't script this stuff. And one thing that's really impressed me so far, in the beginning of the tournament, is Butler. They made it to the finals last year on the Cinderella run, led by Coach Stevens. They've still got Howard. Hayward went to the pros. Very impressive team. I must say, yes, I'm sorry, I picked them to lose to Old Dominion, but I've been very impressed by what they've shown so far. 2 incredible wins. The pick game might go down as one of the best tournament games of all time. And you look at Butler, they really play the game the right way. In an era of one-and-dones, they have tons of seniors. You look at Coach Brad Stevens. He's 36. He's under contract till 2022. So we're going to be out of college, having jobs, and he's still going to be the coach of Butler.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Pitt-Butler game. Very, very interesting last 7 seconds.
And everything was ridiculous.
Actually, I mean, the two crazy fouls you don't see, called in your typical game both happened within a span of 7 playing seconds, except that turned out to be, 15 minutes.
Exactly.
But, I mean, like you said, Butler is your, what you want a college program to be. Great at scouting, their prospects. They're not these guys you see one and done like UNC. They come in, they play real well.
Look at John Wall. You look at Kentucky.
Exactly. I mean, you get guys who come in, they make a big name for themselves and they're out and they're off to the NBA. That's not Butler. Butler plays to win, and they get these very skilled, underrated players, and that's what's propelled this program to become really. I mean, they are not the Cinderella team anymore.
And that's the thing that's really surprised me. You look at Butler, everyone's always been talking Cinderella, Horizon League, they're in Indianapolis, they play no one. They were second in the conference to Green Bay. But you look at Butler, and they have the makings of a real team, not just a Cinderella. They play great defense, great team basketball, and they're back again. I mean, this is not a Cinderella. You don't get Cinderella when you're in the Sweet 16 2 years in a row going to the national championship game. That's not a Cinderella, and I'm interested to see how Butler can, try and replicate last year's success, except maybe, win the national championship. And I think they've got as good a shot as any other team that's in the tournament right now.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, like I said before, I mean, it is traditional strategies that has put this team to the top, and that's just what you like to see. Speaking of top programs, I mean, we're talking about Butler, teams that build through, just a storied history. That's Duke. Maybe Butler can become that. I mean, really, we have local ties here with Kyrie Irving. Exactly. I mean, it's a team
from West Orange. I mean, you look at Duke, of course, you can't overlook the Blue Devils. Back again, and everything about this program, just like Butler, is how you are supposed to play college basketball. Yes, they get Kyrie Irving from West Orange. Maybe you should try and get him on the show. We'll see about that. Maybe once he goes to the NBA, we'll see.
I mean, but you look at the two, major college basketball teams. You have UNC, their rival, and Duke. I mean, you can't really compare them to even any other college program. They are Duke. They are college basketball. You can never underrate them because that they're going to be there no matter what.
And you look at Duke, going to play Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. Coach K did say that Kyrie Irving would have a bigger impact on this game than he did in the last game. A great win against my Michigan Wolverines. Kyrie, 17 points per game, 4.7 assists. He's been hurt out nearly the whole year with a toe injury, but he's still coming back and making an impact. What does this say about Essex County's son?
I mean, he's just, obviously one of the top players this year, but that is Duke. They produce these guys, and, maybe they only stay for a year, but they are the big program. You can't really compare them to anyone except their rival, which is UNC.
And, you look at these two teams, it kind of seems that they're on a collision course again. And, I think that'd be great for NCAA. I'd love to get a nice little Duke-Butler thing going on. I think it'd be great and very interesting. You look at Butler, they could easily come out on top if it does get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's Red Sox-Yankees. I mean, that's good for any sport when you get the two biggest rivals.
I don't know, Duke and Butler, but it could get there. I mean,
sorry, I thought you were talking about UNC.
Duke and North Carolina.
Maybe they're becoming there. Maybe they're becoming that.
I mean, it's definitely becoming a rival. They played at the Izod Center in December. Duke ended up winning. Who could have thought that they'd be playing again in the tournament?
Right.
Now, with all the excitement, of course, there has been some disappointments. You look at Tennessee, they're going to fire Bruce Pearl. What has stood out in your mind as the biggest disappointments this year in the tournament?
Well, I think you hit it right there. I'm going with Tennessee. I mean, they lost in the first round by 30 to a Michigan team that, I believe Tennessee was 8. Tennessee was 8 and Michigan was 9. I mean, that's a team they should be equal to.
Definitely.
I mean, there's no reason to lose by 30 in the first round, nonetheless. I mean, that cannot happen.
No.
And I mean, with Bruce Pearl, who
is now fired.
I'm sure he knew that his job was on the line. I'm sure he was aware of that going into this game. He can't rally the troops. He can't get them more excited to win this game. I mean, it's just a poor effort.
That's pretty terrible. If you look at me, sorry, I'm going to borrow from Charles Barkley, but the Big Least, absolutely pathetic. 11 teams in the tournament, 9 of them are out after 2 rounds. That's terrible. Marquette and UConn. The talent here is so good. Everything about the Big Least is really just incredible. They've got the talent, they've got the players, they've got the coaching, they've got the big programs, and it comes to NCAA tournament time, nothing. They were absent. It was terrible. I mean, they were losing left and right to everybody. I mean, it was a really terrible showing for a Big East that's supposed to be the power conference.
Well, I mean, everyone likes the upsets. But, I mean, you want a limit to it because you want it to be more exciting. You want to see every good team get knocked out.
Exactly. All right, Mark, quick, look in your crystal ball. Who's going to take home the trophy?
Ohio State. Sullinger is,
the one team you still have in your bracket.
Definitely. I mean, Sullinger is just by far, except maybe Kyrie Irving's best player in the nation.
I'm going with Duke here. I like, Coach K, obviously. They've got the players. They've got the talent. Very impressive. It should be a great battle towards the final seeds. You're looking Elite 8, Final 4. It looks to be impressive, and they've got some Cinderellas too. You look at VCU, Butler. They could make a run at it.
Yeah, it should be a great ending. Hopefully as good as it was to begin.
All right, we'll be right back. You're watching Simon Says on the Mark. Remember to check us out on Facebook and on YouTube. You can actually watch all prior episodes of the show. We'll be right back.
After 17 years working as a mason, Mike was laid off. I met him when he came into the library looking for help. He found a job opening, but the application was only online. Mike said he'd spent his entire life around tools, but had never used a computer. I showed him how, and he ended up applying for numerous jobs online. I saw Mike the other day. His new computer skills paid off. He's working again.
New Jersey libraries are transforming lives. Tell us your story.
Welcome back to Simon Says on the Mark. It's time for our quick hits, and sadly, we're still talking NFL lockout. Mark?
Like you said, the lockout has begun. The owners and the players are at a standstill, to say the least. Currently, the format has been each team takes in $1 billion per season, which the players are against for, numerous amount of reasons. It's getting ugly, and where do you think things are going?
I mean, I'm not going to say there's not going to be football. I mean, I don't think I could survive without football. We need football, and the owners and the players are going to, I hope, eventually come to some sort of agreement. I mean, in this lockout, it's really billionaires versus millionaires. But, when you're looking at who's right and who's wrong, I think you got to put the blame here on the owners. The owners, they're already set to approach $4.5 billion in revenue if there's no football. I mean, they're greedy. Dan Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, is a world-renowned, not nice person. Paul Allen is the co-owner of Microsoft, and yet they want more. And this is the one thing that really just astounds me. I mean, I read on Forbes, I think, 1/3 of the NFL owners are in the richest people in the entire world. but they want more of the pot, and that just really, I can't believe it. I don't understand, why.
And out of all the sports, football is supposed to be the blue collar, tough game for, hardworking people, and here we are facing the possibility of not having a season next year because really it's headed by the big market teams. It's Robert Kraft of the Patriots. It's
Woody
Dan
Johnson.
Snyder, Woody Johnson. Jerry Jones is obviously the biggest one. Everyone knows Jerry Jones, but I mean it's really frustrating, and all the players. I mean I'm sure they're asking for more, but what they really want.
It's not unreasonable. I
Yeah.
mean, most of it's really healthcare if you look at it. The NFL said it would not continue active player healthcare in a lockout. The average NFL career is only 3.6 years, which doesn't even qualify an NFL player for 5 years of post-career, needs with healthcare. I mean, these are guys that are, putting their bodies at unbelievable risks. I mean, we've seen guys get paralyzed. We've seen serious injuries, concussions. And the NFL is basically saying, you're on your own. And for most of these players aren't making millions of dollars. You look at the punter, you look at the wedge guy, and these are the guys that are really going to suffer. And this is even before the 18-game season, which is still just mind-blowing to me that the owners would even consider it. This really goes to show you the level that they will go to try and get, more money. And, it's pretty sickening not, just to look at the owners doing this.
And the cap is what makes football.
Exactly.
As a Bills fan, as
You poor soul.
Lions
You're
fans.
going to tease me about my bracket, and you're a Bills fan.
I know. But it's really, if you're a Lions, these small market teams, they can't survive in an uncapped season.
Exactly.
They can't survive when the Redskins have, $3 billion more than them. Like, how is that going to work? It cannot work that way.
It definitely hurts. Well, one, ray of hope for the Buffalo Bills is with the draft. Although, we've seen the lockout has plagued the NFL community. But the 2011 draft will happen regardless. The NFLPA, of course, wanting draftees to boycott the event, not make a dog and pony show for the NFL. One of the big factors in the draft is really Cam Newton of Auburn. Of course, he won the national championship, won the Heisman. Mark, where do you see him going?
Well, pretty much, the teams that he's been pegged to go to is Carolina at 1, Buffalo at 3, Cincinnati at 4, Tennessee at 8, Tennessee at 8, Washington at 10, and maybe even Arizona at 5. But, the thing is, if he makes it past number 1, which honestly I don't think is going to happen, he's not going to go past the Bills. So you're talking about two teams here. You're talking about the Panthers and the Bills. For the Panthers, they, really were devastated when Luck decided to stay at Stanford. So here's their option. They can A, pass on Newton or Gabbert in the first round, take a second-round level quarterback, but they already did that last year with Jimmy Clausen. Or they could take Newton now, or blank Gabbert now, or they could wait another year entirely and wait for Luck. But does that make any sense? Because you're banking on being the worst team in the league for 2 years in a row.
But one of the things you really need to look at with Cam Newton is the character issues. If I'm, an NFL general manager, I look at what he's doing, and, he says he wants to be more than just a player. He wants to be an icon. He wants to be an entertainer. He stole a laptop. He transferred, twice. I look at these character issues, and a number 1 pick is not just, your quarterback. He's the star of your team. He's the guy that's going to take your team forward, and with his ego and, what he's going on and on about and his character issues, I really don't know if I want to take the risk on Newton, and is he really that good a player? Because if he's not, then it's just terrible. You get the worst of both worlds.
No, you cannot deny that he has a, exceptional skill set. He's 6'6", 250 pounds. He can run. He can throw the deep ball. He struggles with the intermediate passing. He struggles picking up on the hot reads. But that's that's the coach's job. If Ron Rivera and his offensive scheme in Carolina, if they believe that he can fit a system there, then they have to take him because he has an exceptional skill set that they really cannot pass on at will.
But the point that I'm trying to make here is, all right, we know Cam Newton is probably an incredible talent. But with the risks that he has, taken, and the risk in taking him, is it really worth it to bring him in? Because you're taking a pretty big risk already taking a quarterback number 1, and now you want to bring in a guy with a host of character issues. And this is not little stuff. He stole laptops, and his father's auctioning him off like a Picasso. I mean, come on. I think at some point, you've got to kind of take a stand and say, I don't want this person to represent my organization going forward for the next 10 years.
The same questions apply to the Bills, too, at 3. Say Carolina passes on him. The Bills need defense. I'm a Bills fan. I know what they need. They need defense. They should not risk on Cam Newton. Moving to basketball, everybody agrees that it was a great call for the Knicks to get Carmelo.
I called it on Simon Says on the Mark. Just wanted to point that out. I don't know if it's a good thing, though, considering what's been going on.
Problem is they've been, mediocre at best since they've gotten him. When does the dramatic increase in wins start?
I don't know if it will start. You've watched the Knicks over the last couple of weeks, and you have seen a team that has been maddeningly inconsistent. You just want to shake them and to see, come on, step it up. And some of the things that we've been watching from the Knicks in the last couple of weeks have been very disheartening as a fan. They're not hustling. They're not really going for the loose balls. Their defense is god-awful. It is one of the worst defenses I think I've ever seen a basketball team play in the NBA. And, this comes down to not Stoudemire, not Melo. It falls on Mike D'Antoni's shoulders. All right, he's an offensive genius, blah, blah, blah. He had Steve Nash and Amari in Phoenix, and that's where he excelled. But with this Knicks team, they're going to have to play defense, and they can't. And, I'm sick of hearing, it's an excuse, D'Antoni's an offensive guru, so they don't need defense. That's ridiculous. They've lost to Cleveland twice, Orlando, Milwaukee, Detroit, Indiana twice, Dallas, and now Boston. At some point you've got to take a stand and say, all right, guys, it's time to put it together. Let's play defense. And, even Billups and Melo, what they've been saying with Stoudemire is, it's going to take us a while to gel. Enough. Gel. Let's go. That's where you've got to take a stand.
Definitely. You mentioned the word inconsistency. That is the only way to describe this team since they acquired Melo. And I'm not saying this officially, but it was like the second or third game Melo was with the Knicks. They beat the Heat in a late second. Yeah, that was just a playoff-like game, a dramatic game, and then a week later, a home Saturday game against the Cavaliers, and they lose.
Terrible.
They lose for the third time to the worst team in the NBA. That is inconsistency right there, and that cannot happen going forward, especially in the playoffs.
Their defense has been consistently terrible. They give up 100 points per game basically every game. You look at D'Antoni, I don't really think he's a good coach. We haven't seen a real impact on the Knicks where he's saying, all right, we're going to make these changes. Boom, they make the changes. Nothing works. He doesn't make changes. They give up so many points, rebounds. Their defense is just terrible. I watched the Celtic game last night. Paul Pierce went down late in the fourth quarter. Celtics are making a run. The Knicks don't know who's guarding him. He hits a three, comes down again. Guess what he does? Gets another easy bucket. It's that kind of stuff that is inexcusable, and it makes you question really how good the Knicks are going to be with this team.
Yeah.
Mark, in the NHL, there's a very tight race going on for the 7th and 8th seeds in the Eastern Conference that's being carried out between the Rangers, Sabres, and Carolina Hurricanes. And for the first time in a while, you've got the Toronto Maple Leafs. Basically, which team will be playing in late April? Will we be seeing these jerseys on national TV?
Well, I hope so, but putting that aside, as of right now, and this is subject to change on March 22nd, the Rangers are in 7th, 82 points, and the Sabres are in 8th, 3 points behind them. It's obviously a tight race. It always is. Honestly, and I hate to say this, but Carolina is just as good as the Sabres. They beat them the last 2 times they've played them. But, you can never underestimate these kind of teams. Last year, the 6th, 7th, and 8th seeds were, composed the final 3/4 of the teams last year, which was the Bruins were 6th, the Flyers were 8th, and, who was...
I think it was close. It was an Eastern...
Exactly. Basically, the Canadiens.
There you go.
On that one. But every point counts. At this point, every game is important. An overtime loss can be the difference, between making it in the last game of the season or not.
There you go.
Basically, that's it. Coming down the stretch. So, moving to baseball, spring training. Once again, the Mets are, I guess you could say a disgrace. There's so much negativity, but is that justified this early?
No, I have never seen a team in spring training and there is so much negativity. It is truly astounding. They have had lawsuits. They are broke. They're cutting players. It is a disaster. The New York Mets baseball team, as an organization, should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, it really is a disgrace. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. They cut Perez, still owe him $12 million. They cut Castillo, owe him $6 million. Come on.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's just terrible.
I know it has a lot to do with the whole
Madoff
thing, and they gotta cut players. But the MLB did not give them enough money to start a successful team this season.
It's true, and it is really just bad, and I'm predicting them to lose maybe 100 games. So that's all the time we have for today. We will be back in April. We're going to be talking baseball by then, and it'll really be spring. I'm Russell Simon.
And I'm Mark Donatelli.
We will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Simon Says on the Mark.